Jai Opetaia had one of the best career performances he's ever had at Zuffa Boxing 04. Instead of talking about his win over Brandon Glanton, we're talking about something completely different. Everybody is talking about the TKO slash Zuffa IBF riff. And it makes complete sense because it is the larger story, but it does take away from what Jai Opetaia has done. So today I want to shine a little bit of light on Jai Opetaia's performance first and foremost, and then we can talk about TKO and the IBF. So first and foremost, Jai Opetaia, probably the best cruiserweight in the world. I don't think it's actually close. Jai Opetaia looked absolutely amazing. He looked immaculate against Brandon Glanton. Now let's not put the cart before the horse here. This is only Brandon Glanton. This is not Zordo, or this isn't even David Benavidez or Bivol or whoever, or Bitterbiev, whoever wants to come up to cruiserweight and fight him. That's not them. But what it is a very indicative performance of what Jai Opetaia can bring. Jai Opetaia showed the smorgasbord of everything he's capable of. A masterful performance. So let's talk about the ins and outs, boys. Let's talk about the technical ability of Jai Opetaia because it is phenomenal. He's so good. And I've watched a fair amount of Jai Opetaia. I can't say I've studied him or anything like that, but I've watched enough to know what he brings to the table. But this was a masterpiece. And again, it's the opponent. We're not going to get ahead of ourselves, but we are going to talk about some things he did great, starting with the opening few rounds. There, Jai Opetaia was like, okay, I'm not going to get into a brawl with Brandon Glanton, which is very clearly what Brandon Glanton wanted. He wanted to get in there, have a brawl, and just throw down the entire time. No, instead, what Jai Opetaia did was like, hey, I'm a box at a distance. Being the southpaw, his right hand's forward, he did a good job of covering the lead hand of Brandon Glanton because, you know, their lead hands are touching each other. They're banging face to face. When he's circling out and everything, watch the beginning of that fight. Jai Opetaia is covering the lead hand and circling out that way. He's covering his exits, making sure he can't get caught with a check hook on the way out. He's also always going away from the power hand. I love it. I love it. And with such a good right hook, Jai Opetaia is okay to completely abandon the left hand, which he's lining up as he goes away from the power hand, sure, but he's lining it up, and he has a very good right hand to really kind of deter any crazy forward pressure from Brandon Glanton. Feet are amazing. I mean, there's sometimes where he kind of gets his feet crossed up. That's kind of in transition, and where he's not in danger, but for the most part, he's always into his power base. He's always got a very good sense of where he is in the ring. He's always looking for the outside foot advantage. I'd like to see him take the inside angle a little bit more. I'd like to see more boxers do that, but here we are. You know, they're not all going to do that right now. Regardless, so his footwork is phenomenal. His punch variation, you know, he's throwing jabs, he's throwing right hooks, or right straights, I mean, he's throwing uppercuts, he's throwing hooks, he's throwing all the kitchen sink. And like, credit to Brandon Glanton, who took the beating for sure, but Jai Opetaia really just kind of showed everything. And then we got to the middle of the fight. The middle fight was absolutely my favorite part of the fight. I love infighting. I don't know if y'all know this or not, but I love infighting, clinch fighting. I love fighting in the pocket with each other, and this fight had a lot of that. And Opetaia, although he ate some shots, fought very, very well on the inside. I mean, he was, you know, shoulder to shoulder, a little bit of holding, and the points taken away. I don't know if I'm too happy about, but the fighting in the pocket with Brandon Glanton and just abusing him with the uppercut, especially like the lead uppercut, he landed time and time and time again. He did this over and over again. Brandon Glanton didn't stand a chance. But when he was on, Jai Opetaia that is, when he was on, it was fantastic. I mean, I can't get past just how beautiful he looked, how great he looked in the pocket, somewhere where his coach is like, hey, get out of the pocket. You don't want to be fighting in the pocket. And time again, Jai Opetaia say like, no, I want to be in the pocket. We're going to go in the pocket. That's where I'm at right now. And they would fight in the pocket every single time. It was beautiful. And then eventually he did get tired of it. He was like, okay, we can fight every now and then in the pocket. But like the last quarter of the fight, you start to see him catch angles. He starts pivoting out and looking for that lead right hook, that lead right hook and that left cross. He starts, you know, changing the angle as he's going in, kind of Lomachenko-esque. Lomachenko's obviously a 126 or 135er, but Opetaia was kind of finding those spots too, kind of pivoting off at an angle, 180 even at a couple points where he had Brandon Glanton kind of turning completely around. Like, where is he? Where is he? So, yes, first and foremost, Jai Opetaia's performance was a masterpiece. It was fantastic. But it was overshadowed. It was overshadowed by this Dana White and boxing establishment thing that they have going on. And it's kind of not fair to Opetaia because, like, he's very clearly the face of this promotion. Dana White, I don't know if you boxing guys know, but Dana White loves the big guys. He loves heavyweights. He loves light heavyweights. Kind of likes middleweights in UFC, which is 185. Jai Opetaia is the face of the promotion right now. It's not even close. He's the best fighter they got. He is a lineal world champion. And now he's their first ever Zuffa title. But instead of it being about a celebration of Jai Opetaia, it's talking about the IBF who stripped Opetaia. And as much as I'm not here to defend TKO and UFC, I do think that what they're doing is it will help boxing, but in the long run, it will monopolize boxing and turn it back into what it was in the 30s and the 40s. If you don't know your history on that, go read up on it. It wasn't a good look. But this rift that Dana White has, he's going to war with these guys. And normally when somebody new enters the space, it's like, oh, okay, like Eddie Hearn and Bob Arum. None of those guys are really worried about it, you know. And even like Eddie Hearn was like the new kid on the block, and he's even like usually not worried about it. But what speaks volumes here is the amount of media attention that other promotions are giving Dana White, the De La Hoyas and the Eddie Hearns, you know, the WBC, the Solomon, and the IBF. They're very clearly threatened by what TKO is doing, and TKO is legislating them out of the business. That's what they're attempting to do, at least. If it works, who knows? You know, there's a lot of steps between here and there, but the TKO is legislating them out of business. And normally I'm like, all right, anti-monopoly. We can't do any of that. That's not good. But here the IBF was like, no, you cannot fight. Like, we're probably not sanctioning this bout. It's essentially what they said. They're probably not going to sanction this bout. What? Okay. Opetaia showing up with his IBF title because he's earned it. He's, you know, made himself an IBF champion. He's a lineal champion. And then they're like, okay, we'll sanction it, and they yup up that money. Now, this is me like guessing. I haven't seen them anything about returning that fee to Opetaia to, you know, he pays that fee to be sanctioned because they stripped him afterwards. Oh, the Zuffa boxing is supposed to be a trinket. It's supposed to be a trophy. It's not supposed to be an actual world title. So you don't like allow fighters to fight for the WBC and the IBF? I mean, the WBA? Like, what? This isn't an attack because, yeah, they're the IBF. Like, oh, okay, not a big deal. This is an attack because they're threatened. Because Zuffa is threatening their business model. Rightly so. The sanction and body organizations are kind of scammy. But they're fighting with a promotion and a monetary and a legislative engine that is light years ahead of what they bring to the table. And now everybody's talking about it, which is awesome. You know, this is a conversation that needs to be had. But at the same time, it is overshadowing Jai Opetaia. It got him stripped. And he went on and made a statement today about, I've been stripped before, I've stripped now, and I'll win it back. But one has to wonder, because all week he's been talking about, oh, I will be undisputed, like trying to put the Zuffa boxing, keep you in a hole to rest. And I don't know how long his contract's for, but I do know, like, I don't think he's happy about this situation. I don't think he's happy he was stripped because of the internal politics between the United States government, TKO, and the IBF. I don't think he likes that at all. And at a point in Zuffa boxing's, you know, growth, very, very important this year that they hold on to their stars and sign more. It can't just be Jai Opetaia. It has to be Bam. It has to be Lee Wood. It has to be Dalton Smith. It has to be Shakur Stevenson. It has to be Naoya Inoue. It has to be Dmitry Bivol, Artur Beterbiev. It has to be Alexander Usyk. It has to be all of them. If they were to say, oh, we got Jai Opetaia, and then let him go, it's going to destroy any credibility they have. So Opetaia has leverage. Now, they got Conor Benn, but he's not He's not Jai Opetaia. At the end of the day, though, this fight overshadowed what Jai Opetaia brings to the table for Zuffa. They're completely ignoring what he brought to the table. They're completely ignoring the story they have at hand in order to craft their own story and go to their own battles. And that is a mistake by them, but it's also a mistake by the IBF. It's also a mistake by Matchroom Boxing, by Top Rank, by Golden Boy. They're going to a war with a $17 billion market cap. That's a lot of money. Together, they're not worth that much. Together, they're probably worth $2 billion. Matchroom's the biggest at $500 million. Instead, they're not adapting like MVP is. Like, as much of a joke as Jake Paul is, they just started their own UBO with the women's, the MVPW. That's the future, and these guys are going to have to adapt. Otherwise, they're going to be crushed, knocked in the dust, and thought of as a memory in the dustbin of history.